we had
Sorry, Chief.
not a problem, not a problem. Even though we had a large scale strike teams, we had local weather events and this COVID pandemic, your department was still able to provide you a continuity of service within the community. Right here is a quick introduction of what service area that we provide to. Being the 1,400 square area miles of the city of Hollister, some of the items that we've gone through over the year to include the hiring of 3 additional staffing to complete our required safer staffing request for the award that we received from FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. The promotions that we've gone through, we've experienced a few retirements, baby boomers like myself who got the hint and retired so they can enjoy life. And we replaced them with our up and comers and utilized our succession plan. So District 1, which is the main Hollister district, and you can identify it where my cursor is here with a yellow circle. The lighter the color is the 3-minute response, and the darker the color. So the darker color starts turning into a green color. That's your like 5 to 8 minute response, and that's a quick snapshot on the map in the bottom. And then the pie chart here describes how many calls make up the percentage of that district. So the downtown Hollister area, and this is just an example. I'm going to hop over to District 4, which is San Juan Bautista. The number of calls is the number of 1,884 to equate the total. So you had a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 separate call for service identifiers. So for instance, overpressure, ruptures, overheating, you had 3 of them. Major fires, you had 65. And as you could tell, obviously, 75 to 80% of all fire service calls are rescue and emergencies. What we were being asked, and what I will do next year's annual report is, folks want to know how many vehicle accidents occurred in their area. And that's important to know because it gives you an idea of what the congestion and the population on the road is. Is this an actual bedroom community? Are people actually getting into more vehicle accidents as we put more drivers on the road? And by the looks of it, the answer would be yes. So I'll go ahead and split the rescue and emergency services for this category next year, and then put down motor vehicle accidents so you could get a good gist on the numbers that are pertaining to it. Real briefly, I'll go over station or District 2, which is the close to Ridgemark and a lot of the southern end of the area. I put the District 2 South, which is basically the more densely populated part of Hollister's District 2, and in District 2 East, which is like all the way out to New Hydra, next to butting up next to the county and the southeast end of the area. And as you could see, because of the population, you only had 20 calls out there in the calendar year of 2021. District 3 is the north end of our county, and you can see that there was only 338, and a lot of those calls were auto aid, mutual aid calls, as well as, and I'm proud to say, District 4. So District 4 had a considerable amount of calls. Most of those calls were not in the city of San Juan Bautista. Most of them were, in fact, into the light gray and the dark gray area, which are the 5, 8, and 10-minute response area. And we have a real robust auto aid agreement with both Cal Fire Aromas Tri-County area, and we have a mutual aid agreement with Gilroy. So that 101 corridor, your fire station at Station 4, your engine company goes on a lot of aid calls to help them out. As a matter of fact, a lot of the calls are first service calls to the neighboring jurisdictions. And when that happens, what happens is an engine from the yellow colored area or even the red colored area will bump up and provide service to this light yellow and light green colored area as a measure of bumping up in cover. Any questions so far? Nothing heard? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this right here is all districts. This number is the accurate number for total incident calls. However, on the report, if we pull a separate report up, you're going to see 4,858 calls. While those 858 additional calls are, say, dispatch contacting battalion chiefs and telling them that there's a road closure on 129. So that generates a call, but all that is a notification for information. So these are the actual calls that our firefighters and engine companies responded to and mitigated emergencies. The fire district covers 64,000 people. We have 436 facilities that are required to get life safety inspections, and that number is growing. So that requirement right there, State Bill 1205, that is a state bill that came into state law as of 3 years ago after the Ghost Ship fire. So if you can recall, the Ghost Ship fire killed over, I want to say 30 some odd people in Oakland, which was a converted warehouse that became like an entertainment venue. Well, with a robust prevention program, that wouldn't have happened. And with laws in place like State Bill 1205, that's a mitigating measure to prevent that from happening in this community. So what falls under that for required life safety inspections are warehouses, jails, hospitals, educational institutions, apartments, hotels, areas like that are required to get a life safety inspection. Downtown businesses, as soon as I get more prevention officers online, we're going to start doing a lot more life safety inspections on businesses. The Starbucks, I mean, we will do that upon request, but it's not calendared, it's not scheduled on a calendar that we can get it repetitively. As you can see, the department, over 50% of the calls down here were emergency and rescue calls on the overall total, but a lot of these calls were calls for service, like say, somebody locked their keys in the car and their child was in the car also. Nobody's life is really in threat or really in danger, but it's our responsibility to go ahead and mitigate that. And there's no sense in the customer or the community member to wait for an insurance company to contact a tow company and get that taken care of when we can do it ourselves. Accomplishments. Of course, we've got our outreach with CPR training and Safe Kids Coalition, the Buckle Up Baby program. It was a little sparse this year because of the whole COVID configuration, but we still kept up to date. We still wanted to maintain the continuity of service. We still have staff that attends those meetings. So when we come back into our new normal as a society, we still want to be able to participate in the Buckle Up Baby program. Fleet management, according to the contract, it's our responsibility as the authority having jurisdiction to purchase our vehicles and our foreseeable need for service as far as equipment is concerned. So we have a type 1, which is your regular fire engine, like you see here at 11, engine 11, a type 6, which is an off-road wildland engine, which is really important for a jurisdiction like the city of San Juan Bautista. And then we have a water tender, an off-road water tender that's unfortunately delayed for construction because of COVID. And it's not because we don't have the staffing or there's no staffing in the manufacturer's warehouse to get it built. It's the fact that raw materials are missing. We're not getting the raw materials to purchase, or I'm sorry, to manufacture these or fabricate these engines. A Type 3, and then we've got $1 million approved to purchase a ladder truck. And right now we're doing we're specking out, we're doing specific configuration on what it is that we need for this community. If it was just the city of Hollister or the city of San Juan Bautista, we would know particularly what type of an urban truck we would need. But because we're dealing with the rural area, and I say that because a lot of our 3- and 4-story buildings are out in the county. So like a lot of the Amazon building down the road here, you have United Genetics, you have Well Picked and other big 3-4-story concrete tilt-up buildings that we got to take into consideration. So that's the reason for getting a specialization committee to spec out the proper equipment for this jurisdiction. And of course, we got an Office of Emergency Service Type 6 engine, so we can provide service throughout the state. This year we went on 5 deployments to one strike team assignment, the Dixie Fire. And what that entails is a total of about, these guys were out on deployment for a total of maybe 45 days total. So they'd be gone 1 week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, come back, and we would replace our staff that are on the fire line with fresh staff after a week would go by, or even a 21-day period. I think one of our battalion chiefs was out on the fire line for about 45 days. So that's a considerable amount of time for them to be away from the job, family, and the whole 9 yards. We were given a grant of over $60,000 to buy automobile extrication tools. So when we pursue grants, it's so we can alleviate some of the burden of cost from the jurisdictions. If the way I see it, if there's an organization out there, or if the state or the federal government has money to provide and supplement our coffers so we can buy equipment and hire staff, I'm going to write a grant for that. And it's my responsibility to do research on grants, to seek them out, to apply for them, and to accept them and utilize that money and provide a period of performance. Because the way I feel, and now this is not the fire chief, this is Bob Martin del Campo. If I live out in the county and I'm paying taxes on my property, and that tax is going to Sacramento, and Sacramento is sending that money to Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Sacramento, and I don't have my hand out, I'm failing this community by not getting our fair share of the money here in San Benito County. So every opportunity I get to ask for that money that us taxpayers are putting into the coffers of the Sacramento budget is it should be at least attempted to get that money back into this community. Software upgrades. This is just some of the technical equipment that we've purchased, and we've applied for faster response and better service out on the road. Training. This is our bare minimum requirement of training. When I asked the training chief about the residual training, we have other stuff in there that he hasn't placed in here as additional training. And again, we'll go ahead and put that out there, but it's specialized training. And it might lose its intent if I put it on the screen and it doesn't have a good narrative behind it. So one of the items of training is the active shooter training. What Gilroy experienced about 2 years ago with the Garlic Festival, we're going through that training ourselves right now. We're coming up with policies you're well aware that we're going to have a independence rally. And with that type of vulnerability that we're placing our community in, we need to be trained to react to a situation like that. We can't ever say it's not going to happen. It happened 15 minutes north of us, and we want to be prepared for it. Some of that stuff wasn't put into this matrix. This is your basic training that each firefighter goes through. There's specialized training that I'm going to have put in a graph just like this. So you as our stakeholders get an opportunity to see this and say, okay, this is what our fire service is providing us. And then, as you can see, that training tower right there is located at the Hollister City North facility where the treatment plant is. And that training tower is a 4-story multi-room burn facility that was purchased with funds that was provided to us by a grant. Chief Rossi and the other command staff wrote a grant and applied for it with Monterey Peninsula Foundation. The money was generated from the Pro-Am golf tournament. And what happened was our justification was so great and well earned that they provided us with $700,000 of training funds. And this is what we bought with it, was a training facility. Now, the reason for that is everybody has to train in their area of responsibility to be very well versed in what they need to do, because fires are so infrequent, they are so dangerous. We can't just get a house, an abandoned home, started on fire and then try to put it out. It's got to be in a controlled environment that complies with the laws and regulations of OSHA, NIOSH, Cal OSHA, and a burn facility provides us with that. Your firefighters train on this on a regular basis. I'll say weekly basis. It's taxing, it's exhausting, but this provides them a level of competency when it comes to making entry and fighting fire. Today we met with the training officers of Gilroy's Police Department SWAT team, and they're going to utilize this training facility also. It's a regional training facility. Gavilan College is going to start using it also for their fire academy. And it's going to be a destination location when it comes to public safety facilities and training. And then the picture in the bottom is an example of an abandoned building. It was on Park Hill. Unfortunately, the homeless got a hold of it, started a warming fire. And by the way, this is city owned. So we are in the process of demolishing it and trying to get it replaced. Don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, but this is our efforts in trying to do mitigation when it comes to. Fortunately, it was on top of the hill, and it was there was no other exposures around it. Okay, fire prevention. So on this slide right here, you have your fire marshal and your and his assistant. Yeah, this was some of the State Bill 1205 information that I was talking about as far as the numbers are concerned. You have a total of 406 mandated life safety inspections. You have also the total of overall inspections that were conducted. And that's for the fiscal year of 2021. And then on this small matrix, you have the fiscal year of 21-22 on this side. So as you can see, we've done over 1,100 inspections since July of this fiscal year. And last fiscal year, you had 1,700. So we're well on our way of surpassing last year's fire inspections. Also, we are the lead agency of a multi-jurisdiction arson task force, and we continue training our officers detectives, our deputies, and our firefighters in I'm going to say the fine art of arson investigation. Everybody has their specialty. The arson investigation was not mine. To me, it's like trying to understand calculus or algebra. These guys know their work when it comes to investigating a fire. Even our law enforcement officers are getting very well versed at it. And I'm gonna get to the next slide. Some of the funding sources. So the Hollister Fire Department's budget is comprised of, different types and different categories of funding. We put in here fire department revenue, which is not something that we normally do, is generate revenue, but we called it that because we really couldn't come up with another name for the money that helps fund our organization. So like I said, we work diligently to research, apply, and obtain grants in an effort to relieve the burden of cost for the jurisdictions, and over 1/3 of our budget is generated from outside funding source, meaning your contracts, San Juan Bautista and San Benito County, fire impact fees. So last year, Chief Bedola, him and one other firefighter generated over $272,000 in inspections. So the inspections are about $161 an inspection. Those are a lot of inspections to be generated or to be conducted to generate that kind of funding. The FEMA Safer Grant generated in the fiscal year $514,000. The grant itself was over $2 million, but we broke it up per each year. And this year was the last year that we received that funding from Department of Homeland Security. Strike teams, I mentioned that we went out of county to assist the state. This was what was generated from out of county. And for some odd reason, a little bit of money is made when we go out to help the state. There's the hourly rate that our firefighters generate. There's the overtime that they generate. And there's a 10% administrative fee that the state will pay us for supporting those firefighters on the line. So it's more or less a continuity of service and sustaining the force when they're deployed like that. Fire prevention cost recovery, you have a total of $520,000 in total. This is for the calendar year, not just for the fiscal year like I showed you in the earlier slide. This is what fire prevention generated in the calendar year of 2021. Okay, over $3 million, pretty close to $4 million of our $9 million budget is generated from outside funding sources. I think it was important to show that because I'm personally proud of our staff and our command staff in researching these grants, seeking them out, knowing the right justification to write down, the right language to write down, and obtaining these grants. And not only that, they have to be able to manage the period of performance of having the grant, because if you're not maintaining that period of performance, if you're not providing what you said you were going to provide, those grant agencies can ask for that money back. And as of yet, that hasn't happened. And then right here, here's some of the closing statements of the department. The Hollister Fire Department provides a multi-jurisdiction shared service agreement with the cities of Hollister, San Juan Bautista, and the county of San Benito. We have very minimal duplication of effort. We have one fire administration. You have of 3 fire service areas. Yeah, this project, this partnership capitalizes on shared service model with the fire authority that delivers essential services effectively and efficiently. We eliminate any redundancy in training. So when we have 3 different jurisdictions, you're going to have 3 levels of training or 3 separate trainings. Here, you only have one form of training. You have several funding sources into one single budget, and you have one single line of effort. And that's coming up from your constituents, the community, all the way up to the command staff and management. And And then, of course, we've got the summary. The fire department functions through 4 divisions. We have operations, training, planning, logistics. The fire bureau isn't a division; it's a bureau in itself. And then, of course, you have the administration that oversees operations, training, planning, and logistics. And our responsibility is increased in geography, population, the assignment, the jurisdictional accountability, and calls for service. Each division provides an essential component for the delivery of service. So that's the conclusion. Do you guys have any questions of me?
I'm sure we have lots. Thank you very much for that. I am going to go down the list of folks that we have here. Scott, any questions, comments, or concerns?
No questions, but thank you for the report. It was easy to follow along, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel?
I don't have any questions. My comment is that it's very informative, and thank you for that. As a member of the general public, I think that it's important that we are aware of all that is involved in the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dave? Dave Medeiros?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I was looking at the apparatus and things like that as far as equipment goes. I'm curious as to think how, when does the state or federal have something that we measure ourselves to make sure that we have the right equipment, the right amount of equipment and coverage and things like that? Is there anything, what does the department go by?
Yes, sir. So good question too, because and sometimes I don't cover stuff like that in an annual report because it's fire department terminology and I'll lose people big time. So because we're in a wildland urban interface, which means we have a urban community surrounded by agriculture, and because it's so unique like that, we're a city surrounded by an island of agriculture. You can't just have a type 1 fire engine. You have a variety of engines. And if you have no water source or a poor water source, you got to have a water tender instead of like a water tank. So the standard that we abide by is a National Fire Protection Association standard that sets down guidance for us as a best practice to follow and say, hey, a jurisdiction like ours can't do the same thing like a jurisdiction like San Francisco, where they need a lot of ladder trucks. They need a lot of high capacity fire engines. What they need is more of a 4x4 and 4x4 wildland engine and a water tender. So it would be nice for us to come up with our own perspective of what we need here, but the guidance is there from the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA, and we abide by that. And so far, they've been really good at what they recommend to us, and we've been very diligent in following what they say. It's kept us out of trouble, and it's provided us what we need to do our jobs. So thank you for that question. That was good. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, and the other thing too is when it comes to training emergency preparedness by district, and now we have an alert now that we're year long, we're going to be as far as fire danger and that kind of a thing, wildfire danger. So now it's an annual thing now. It's not just by season. So as far as emergency preparedness and by district, whether it's Hollister or San Juan or wherever the county, I don't know if you covered any of that training. Is there going to be something that we're going to do more of that in preparation to deal with this kind of emergency?
Well,
or earthquakes or whatever?
Yeah, good point. So because we have five separate fault lines in this community, our main concern is notifying the public when it happens. So one of the things we're doing is we're requesting that our people get notified by either the reverse 911 that Netcom provides us. This way we can tell you, you know, you're going to evacuate this area, or we're going to, if we do evacuate this area due to an earthquake or a gas leak or a potential wildland coming your way, you'll know where to evacuate to, evacuation points. As far as the community is concerned, as far as and that's the main focus, is the communication back to the community. As far as the fire service, or I should say public safety is concerned, because if a large scale event happens, it's going to have to take not just the fire department, but law enforcement and emergency services and the county OES to exercise the plans that we have in place for a particular incident. So like I was talking about, for instance, the motorcycle rally, the Independence Rally. If there's going to be an evacuation of a certain area, those plans are going to be exercised. Those plans are going to be in place. As a matter of fact, if it does happen, if the city of Hollister does sanction it and we do carry out the event, we're going to have a couple of exercises, a couple of drills. If you say this way, we can say, okay, this is the plan. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to know that day how well it's going to work or what it needs for it to actually work to its minimum capacity, to its standard. So there's two levels of training. There's the training for the community, you guys to get, as far as what we're going to need from you, as far as you gathering the information and where you're going to relocate, or even if you can support us with like say organizations like CERT. And then there's the training that we have to exercise that we don't come in contact with on a frequent basis. We're good at chasing fires on the wildland. We're good at putting structure fires out and doing medical aids and vehicle accidents. But the large scale event, the active shooter event, you know, the wildland fire into our area that we have to relocate, because just because we evacuate you and put you in a safe place doesn't mean that it stops there. We got to make sure that you guys are fed, that you're cared for. If there's medical concerns, we've got to set up a medical facility to handle, you know, the episodic seizures, the diabetic emergencies. So all of that comes into play.
That sounds good. Thank you for all your hard work with the grants and what have you, and seeking grants, and also for your service. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yolanda?
Hi, I have two questions. One, this has been brought up before, but everybody was concerned if there's like a national disaster that we have been like a stepchild. Will you guys incorporate us in your, you know, like staging or putting somebody in charge to oversee San Juan?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Okay.
And what happens is it gets triaged into the greater need of the incident. So if in fact your jurisdiction, and it wouldn't be just the city, the small city of San Juan, it would be all the way out down to Bixby and all the way out to Merrill Road. We have to take the whole community into consideration, and we would assign a battalion chief in that area, and that battalion chief's responsibility would be the care and welfare of the community.
And would that person be the one, the key point person for like PG&E, the police to talk to, or something to that nature? Or would that battalion would just be for fire and danger, or?
Correct. Because so when we stand up an emergency operations center, an EOC, all of us public safety representatives get together, and if it's not a unified command, then it's a lead agency taking charge, And it could be the lead agency is CHP, the California Highway Patrol. And what their recommendation for us would be, okay, fire, you're going to do this. Hey, so each agency would have a liaison to reach out to the community and be able to address their concerns. If there's a shortage on food. So what I would do is I would contact, if I knew that there was a shortage on meals coming in, I would contact, believe it or not, my rec department. So my recreation department worked very hard on setting up a program with Meals on Wheels. And not only did they feed the elderly, but they fed people who were immunocompromised and couldn't leave the house. So we would definitely dig deep. The Emergency Operations Center would open up, and we would have our specialists in these categories address the local community's concerns. Does that kind of make sense?
Absolutely, because I was here for that last disaster, and from my understanding, there wasn't a key person in charge to, like you said, the highway patrol will be in charge, or the battalion chief will be in charge. And thank you for clarifying that. And I have two other questions.
Yes.
You said that you were going to be trained for the Independence Rally. Well, they come to San Juan Bautista as well.
Yes.
And so will you guys also like filter over here? Well, we have our fire department here. Would they be trained as well? Or would they be over there, or would we be solo here?
No, we're not going to leave. So I should have mentioned this earlier. San Juan Bautista and the fire station on Polk Street is an extremely important stepping off point, a deployment facility for our department when it comes to the west end of San Benito County. So what my intent is during the rally and even before the rally, and let's say it's just a large scale event, but I'm going to pick the rally because we're all very familiar with it. We're going to be getting about 20 to 30,000 people coming in a single day, or more than that. In 1997, I think we experienced over 80,000 people. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is we're going to place a water tender out at San Juan Bautista, hoping that it's configured right for the area. And so what a water tender is, it's an additional water source to your area, because I understand that there's a challenge in the city's infrastructure with water. So we're going to put an additional water source out there. And we've got two of them right now, and we're getting ready to purchase another one. We're going to put one of them out there, and we're going to put one of our off-road firefighting pieces of equipment out there too, because not only do we got to worry about the fact that you're going to be getting an influx of population with the biker community, but it's 4th of July, and not everybody is as safety conscious as you and I are with fireworks. We get a lot of spot fires from airborne fireworks. So we've got to maintain that continuity of service. Okay, you got the Independence Rally happening in Hollister. There's going to be people bleeding over into San Juan Bautista, and it's 4th of July. So I'm going to throw 2 engines out in San Juan Bautista and a water tender. So you're probably going to have maybe a total of either between 5 and 6 firefighters out there staffing 3 different pieces of equipment. Okay. And just because we have an Independence Rally, and just because we have a 4th of July weekend, we still have to provide the community a level of service that they are expecting irregardless. So nothing stops just because these 2 events are happening. We still have to be very cognizant of that and provide that level of service irregardless of what we have going on throughout the community.
Thank you very much. That's impressive. I'm impressed with your PowerPoint. I'm impressed with your answers. Kudos to you and your department. Thank you for thinking about us in a major event and in the Independence Rally. I loved your answers. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chief. A couple of more questions. That was actually my first one. Thanks, Yolanda, for asking that. Lots of information, lots of really good information that we need to know. Just a couple of questions on the presentation itself. You said something about a good intent call. Was that mutual aid or is that something else?
Yeah, so a good intent is sort of a way of saying we're helping the community. It's not an emergency. Of course, we'll prioritize it. So it would be like, say this one comes up a lot. Your smoke detector keeps going off. And
Yeah.
we're gonna get in there with our ladders, change the battery for you because it needs to function, but it's extremely loud. Or like I said, a person locked their keys in the car. We had a council member call and they were on their way to a meeting, and we, not because they're the council member, but because they knew they can rely on us as opposed to waiting for AAA to come because their insurance company is still trying to contact the tow company. So those are the things that we do. I mean, it's a matter of I'd say logistical convenience to provide that level of service to the community.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
You talked about training, your folks get active shooter training. Can you bring that training to our folks, to City Hall, to Public Works, to our group?
So that training is specified for different type of responses. And yes, I think they're, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't been exposed to it myself. I've only seen it where in a setting like City Hall is, there's a level of training that's more of a defensive measure and a defensive posture, where ours is a little bit more of a reactive posture, where we're going in behind law enforcement, which isn't defensive. They're very offensive, and they neutralize the threat. We go in right behind them to mitigate any injuries and do any kind of either rescue or recovery, where the type of training you're requesting is more of a defensive measure. And I've seen it. I think I've even taken a class when I was maybe about a year or so ago in the military on how to hunker down and be very protective. I can look into that, and I can probably provide some training resources for you on that.
Don, do we do that already?
No, not exactly. And it brings up a really good question, because we're planning special events again. And when we shut down our special events, we were gearing up for the rib cook-off. And a council member at the time was very concerned about this. And so whether it's yourself or the sheriff's department, we could certainly use help planning our special events better for these in anticipation of these events happening. But there's a number of things that we could do with staff on that, Bob. So yeah, we look forward to working with you more on that.
Got it. Not a problem.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really liked when one thing that I really liked that Todd did well was getting everybody together for a special event prior to it to do the checkoff list. And I'm hoping we continue in that vein, where fire, sheriff, recology, health department, and the coordinator of the event get together in the room and go through what everybody needs in the checkoff list to ensure that we're all set to go. The antique fair was the very first event to happen after the Gilroy Garlic Festival, and thank goodness for all of the coordination and cooperation from every entity. It went off smoothly. We appreciated seeing fire out there and the sheriff's department out there walking around. So thank you for helping us in your continued support in everything you do. We really appreciate you in the city. We appreciate the guys, and anything that we can do to help you and your crews. Please let us know.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I have a couple of
Thanks.
quick questions. Leslie.
Yep,
Could
go ahead.
ask-
I was just going to ask if there's any other questions for the chief. Go ahead.
Chief, thank you. Thank you so much. Short notice of showing up today. About a year ago, there was concern that the county was going to look for a different fire protection service provider, and that would really have a big impact on us. Is that, do you hear that rumor, or do you hear that happening
So
anymore? Is it-
when I came back from being on orders, I had heard the same thing, and I was assured by a representative from the Office of Emergency Services here in the county that that's not going to happen. I think it's the responsibility of the CAO or even the council to inquire if there's a better deal out there, for a lack of a better term.
Right.
And from what I understand, I don't think that that's going to happen. I understand that it's probably
Okay.
75% not going to happen.
Good. That's what we wanted to hear. Appreciate that. Another question. I was on the phone with 15 different city managers Friday. And for example, one city complained that 10% of their employees were out on COVID, and a lot of those were first responders. How is your department holding up during this outbreak?
We're holding up, and I can say that we do have a few people that are out. This last variant did a number on a lot of departments here in the city, and we weren't immune to it. As a matter of fact, of course, we take all of the precautions. We've got a good majority of our folks who are vaccinated with the second dose and boosted, and still it's a pretty persistent variant. So we did have a couple that came up positive, and we're still staffing our engines with 3.0 staffing, and we're still providing our level of continuous service. So we're doing okay. Thank you for asking.
Okay, good. Thank you for that response. That's great. And then just lastly, the community is very excited about having CERT training, but we want to go through the fire department to get that CERT training. So maybe towards the summer and towards the beginning of the fire season, when hopefully the COVID dies down and the need increases, we could get some training together for our residents. And David Medeiros reminded me of that. That would be great to have some CERT training.
We're in the fire season.
Yeah, we're right. Look at Big Sur, huh? Look at
I don't
Big
think it
Sur.
ended. I don't think it ended for 3 years already.
3 years. I know. Thank you, Chief. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Chief, once again, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you and your folks.
Yes,
Be
yes,
safe,
ma'am.
stay well.
Thank you. And we appreciate the support, honestly. It's really good to hear this. It is. It's very good to hear this. Thank you very much. I'll pass it on to my line guys.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
And one more thing, next time you guys have a toy drive, let us know. We're right next door.
Okay, will do. Will
Right,
do.
right.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, be safe.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have Assistant Sheriff Tom Keylon?
No, actually, I'm Lieutenant Tom Corral. I'm one of the new lieutenants that was just hired here from the outside. I apologize. I don't understand why my camera is not working.
Chicken. Just kidding. Thank you very much for joining us,
Okay.
Lieutenant. We appreciate you coming here.
Well, Lieutenant, it's not on our end, so we did receive a good summary from Tom Keylon, and hopefully you've seen that, Lieutenant. some of the things we're working on include the assignment of a dedicated deputy from the sheriff's department, and the email from Assistant Chief Keylon describes that they're trying to staff up in all different directions, and that this is on the list. So it hasn't happened yet. I don't know if you have anything more to say about that.
I don't, other than it is a top priority for the sheriff and me as well, as I'm in charge of the Enforcement Bureau. So it is a high priority for us. As you know, we've been struggling with staffing over the years. Although I'm new here, I grew up in the county, so I'm well aware of the staffing issues of our agency. And slowly we've been creeping up. As you know, we don't, our pay and size of our agency doesn't attract a lot, but we've been doing a tremendous job trying to get back. So we're getting there slowly and surely.
Great. Thank you for that. Over the weekend, we had a number of complaints about burglaries. Have you heard that? We didn't find too many calls to 911 for break-ins or burglaries this weekend. Are you aware of that as an enforcement issue in our community right now?
No, so as I was made aware by Captain Keylon of that concern. He looked up, could not find anything. I have the briefing report right here. If you give me a second. So there was one report at 18 Monterey Street on the 21st. And that's all the reports we have. And then Captain Keylon wasn't able to find any more from the dispatch log, any more calls for service regarding those issues.
Okay. Okay, thanks. So just checking in. Since it came up over the weekend, I thought maybe you, but if you're not getting the calls, that's a message to our community. We should call no matter what. Any concerns of that nature, burglaries and break-ins, or even suspicious characters.
Yeah,
Because,
that's an issue that, it's not only the community of San Juan, it seems to be everywhere. I think a lot of people just don't bother to call us for whatever, they have their variety of reasons, but it is important to call us and report us. Like vehicle burglaries and stuff, they are very difficult to solve. However, it's important that crime statistics are documented accurately and gives us an idea, and we can focus our attention more in certain areas.
cool. Okay, Mayor, I was just trying to loosen things up so we could have some talking points. I don't know if you want to ask the committee members and yourself if you have questions as well.
Thanks. Does anybody else on the committee have questions? Rachel?
Yes, I do. I was wondering if there was a possibility to set up better communications on a regular basis with level 1 to follow up on the level 1 reports, even if they're once a month. But in seeing the level 1 report of last month that we were given, it was very interesting to me that level 1 observed so many things and yet nothing was follow up on it, like the blatant disregard for our parking and traffic ordinance of the city. The example of the Rancho Way and Franklin Circle illegal parking and speeding on our streets. If level 1 can communicate those observations to the sheriff, maybe the sheriff could follow up or keep a lookout for those certain incidents that keep happening on a regular basis. That was
Absolutely.
my-
Those are all. And I believe this will become a lot easier when we're able to dedicate a full-time deputy over there to the city. Just right now, communications always a struggle. So just finding the right way. But I think definitely those issues will really, we'll be able to make great strides into that and start addressing some of these issues everybody's been experiencing.
Well, but even if we don't have a dedicated sheriff, I mean, there is a sheriff on duty a certain time of the day or night. And when that sheriff comes on duty, if he has the reports of level 1, he could follow up on it. Wouldn't that work?
No, you're like, well, so I might be a miscommunication. What I meant was, you're absolutely right. I'm just saying this, it'll be easier to deal with when there's a full-time deputy. I'm actually not aware of this level 1 reporting you're speaking of. And I'm sorry, I'm new to this. I was just tasked to attend this meeting a couple hours ago, so I can learn what that is.
Wow.
And definitely, if that's a way that can really help us addressing those issues, we're very open to it.
Okay, that was my question.
Thank you very much. David?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
Hold on a minute, squeaky toy. No, and I think I understand correctly. The dedicated deputy that we're going to have, he or she still has to do a little bit of training on their specific tickets and how to write tickets and all that stuff. I know most law enforcement as far as municipal does it, but correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really not the sheriff's department doesn't really do much of that stuff unless they're like in a contract municipality. So there is going to be some training involved, I'm sure, with that, and I'm sure they'll be able to get with level 1. It's going to be nice to see a dedicated deputy. Matter of fact, I saw one the other day. He was just passing through town and he popped somebody for blowing through a stop sign. So I was pretty happy to see that. It was right in front of me too, so it was even better. But thank you, sir. Sorry you got thrown into the mix real quick.
Oh no, I'm happy to meet everybody and get involved, and I need to be aware of these issues, so I appreciate it. And you are correct. Sheriff's deputies generally are in charge of traffic enforcement, meaning issuing citations, traffic collisions. We contract with the California Highway Patrol for that, but with contract cities such as this. So it will be a bit of a learning curve. In fact, Sunday night, I came out, the deputies were responding to a DUI traffic collision out on Fairview, and CHP did not have an ETA for us, didn't know when they were gonna get out there. So I kind of so it's very difficult for them, but I will tell you that we got a lot of young employees here that are willing to learn. So I'm confident that they'll pick it up pretty fast and be able to respond appropriately.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Sorry, Scott, did you have anything else?
No, I was just telling them thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. Yolanda?
Hello, Tomas Corral. I'm on board with Mrs. Ponce. If we have a sheriff, and wasn't it who was the gentleman that told us that as soon as the new year came on, that all the sheriffs would be trained to write tickets? Is that not correct, Tom?
Yeah, I can go back in the minutes and double check that.
Yeah,
but
he said when the beginning of January, all the sheriffs are going to be trained to write tickets because he wants all the sheriffs to start writing tickets. And I'm just wondering, like Mrs. Ponce said, we may not have a dedicated sheriff, but we do have a sheriff. And, and level one has a lot of details. And maybe you guys should, maybe Dawn, we can send that level one to Mr. Corral and to the gentleman that spoke to us and made these promises to us, so
You
that they
bet.
could follow up on them.
Great idea.
Because there is more, like you said, I'm not, thank you for bringing that up, Dawn, about the robberies and breaking of windows. I saw somebody on the street and they pulled me over and I said, did you call? And they said, no, because the sheriff takes too long to get out. I said, you still need to call. Twice they vandalized their truck and their property out there where Rhonda lives. Okay, so and I told them they need to call. I can't do anything. I can't do anything, but the sheriffs can.
So I should clarify a little bit. The deputies are trained and capable of writing citations. They may not be as knowledgeable with the California Vehicle Code, but they're able to write tickets. It's the traffic collisions and DUI investigations that they struggle with because of lack of exposure, because we have that contract with the Highway Patrol and a lack of training in that. So I should clarify that. Thank you.
Oh, so then they can ticket cars that don't have tags or different license plates without tags. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, they can enforce the California Vehicle Code violations on any public highway.
Yeah, because I saw a sheriff parked by the gas station and there's our Patriot St. Chris that has no license plate on his tags. His license plate, he doesn't have tags on his car or his truck. And he was sitting there and I'm sure he saw him, didn't issue a ticket or tow the car.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. If you want to send me an email, provide me, I can kind of look into that if you like, or just advise the people to look out for any specific details. I can let the shifts know.
Could you share your email with us so that we can do that, sir?
Absolutely. It's a T Corral, CORRAL at sbcsheriff.org.
sbsheriff.org.
sbcsheriff.org.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Don, yeah, if we can share some information about what code enforcement in level one see with the sheriff's department, that might be able to help us out a little bit or help them out a little bit. That'd be great. Lieutenant, thank you very much for coming to the meeting today. We do appreciate you and your folks as well. I understand you had kind of a busy night in San Juan on Saturday. So we appreciate your presence. Is there anything that we as a city or a group can help you with? The Safety Council?
Well, I would just encourage citizens to report crimes, suspicious things. I understand a lot. People will see something suspicious. Maybe they don't want to call because they don't want to waste our time, they feel, or they think will take too long, which, as a sheriff's office, our response times are a little longer, but you never know, we could be around the corner, and or that suspicious person or suspicious thing you think could be something very beneficial, and we encourage that. We need to be aware, and we definitely need to work together, and yeah, definitely I would just encourage that, and I understand. I felt that myself in places I've lived, not calling the police, but it is important, and you're not bugging us. It's very important for us. We need to know these things. So that's the best advice I can give, I think, right now.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, we'll bring that up at the next council meeting. When council members talk about meetings that they've attended, we'll bring that up and reinforce that statement that if there is an issue, whether it's a burglary or a suspicious person, regardless, to call 911 and to file a report.
And any problem, locations or things, we should be aware of those things too, because they tend to spiral out of control pretty fast. So if we can kind of address, I'll tell you, myself and the sheriff, we really want to have a solution-oriented organization. So if we can address these small problems before they get big and, put an end to it, that's what we really want to do, focus on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us today. Does anybody else have any questions for the lieutenant? No? Okay. Thank you again very much for attending. Be safe out there.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting everybody. I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you,
Us
Lieutenant.
too. See ya.
Hope you get your camera fixed.
Thank you. It's brand new. I don't know what the problem is.
Oh, man.
Good luck.
Okay. Security cameras, draft request for qualification update.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the committee. I've been looking into different requests for qualifications to hire someone who can help us plan and put together a pricing strategy for camera equipment. And I've come across different examples. As I think I've described before, the camera equipment can be really complicated. And after talking with Steve Adams and the chief of police in King City, I think it would be good to have a practical plan, a phase 1, a phase 2, phase 3, so that we could work together as a committee and bring the city council a proposal to get the program started. So I've been looking at, I have the city of Oceanside's in front of me, and I have asked for the King City request for qualifications as well. But one thing that is really interesting to know, I'm looking at Oceanside, and they spent $500,000, which is something we can afford, I think, at least the first phase, to put in 9 cameras. And they leveraged that with Homeland Security grants. And so they were able to put federal grant money together with local dollars. But this is a hardwire system. It's an old system, and they just did this in June 2021. The committee may or may not be aware, we have an agreement with a broadband company called Etheric, and they're ready to pull building permits at last. They have the hardware finally that they need in stock now to begin installing the broadband access up at the water tank, so that we could then, our city hall, library, and public works yard will all have highly secure, super fast connections to that, and they can tap into that and create a wireless environment for our camera system. So I'm going to wrap that in. That needs to be part of our RFQ, someone who's familiar with these wireless camera systems. And then, of course, you're going to need a contract on the back end, someone to monitor the cameras and watch them. So I'm piecing these pieces together as fast as I can, so we can get an RFQ out in time for the council's budget considerations in April. So that's where I am with that. And I want to focus on that as a priority for myself and for this committee. I think the whole community is looking forward to having what David referred to as a smart cities approach to managing things. And with that Etheric network up, we'll have the backbone to ride on and make that happen. So I just wanted to update the committee that we are making progress on that front. There are a few things later in the agenda that you can see that I'm not making progress on. And that's, I'm just trying to get my priorities straight and check in with the committee as far as priorities go. So if there are any questions or suggestions on the qualifications, if anyone is aware of any company names, there's a couple camera companies, of course, that will be your consultant because they want you to buy their cameras. In Oceanside's example, they actually use the data storage solution because it takes terabytes and terabytes of data storage capability to manage these systems. So there's a couple important critical details that we need to think through before we go out and look for a consultant to help us plan this program. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Dave, go ahead. I see your hand up first, so I'm gonna call on you, and then I'm gonna go down the list in no particular order. But the way
Yeah,
I have it.
I was just gonna ask about what, if we set this up, is there gonna be a real-time center where you can monitor, real-time monitoring?
So
for
I believe
let's say, or sheriff?
Yes, I believe it's a cloud-based software and a wireless program, so you'd be able to check it from anywhere in the world.
Right,
But we also want to make sure that we do that in a secure fashion, of course.
right.
We don't want-
Yeah, that we'll all tap into it.
That wouldn't be good, spying on our neighbors, yeah. Government gets a bad rap about that anyway.
Yeah, that's good. That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
No, I like don't really have any question. I like the tier, if we can do it in tiers. It'll probably be economically probably a lot better. And then,
Yeah.
We'll figure out our target areas and work from there. And it sounds good. And hate to be rude, but I'm going to have to jump off here in about 5 minutes because I have to make a important phone call. So
Sure.
I'm going to hang in there for another 5 minutes. So, but thank you, Dawn. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Rachel,
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
thank you. Yolanda,
Don, did you get a hold of who King City used, which was Surveillance Grid?
Right, so I'm trying to reach the police chief and get their documents and their RFQ, and maybe I can just plagiarize theirs and do it quicker.
Correct.
More than happy to get into surveillance queue and any other company's queue. There might be some north of us that they wouldn't access, so. Right, the idea is to solicit and give everyone a chance to put in their best bet, their best chance.
Absolutely. And also monitoring the cameras, could level 1 do that? At a
I'm not
lower
sure.
rate? I mean, at a lower rate to do that? I mean, I think they're they write great reports. They're vigilant. Maybe we could reduce it. Or, I don't know. I mean, that's just a thought to have them do it.
We haven't talked about it.
Not just them, but I know we have to go to 3 companies to do it. That's
Right.
what I gotta say. That's it.
Thank you.
thank you. We have a substation, do we not? Whether it's
Well,
active or not in the windmill?
I forgot to ask the lieutenant that. I wonder if he's ever been there. I'm afraid it's not getting used very much. But I'll have to follow up. Yes, we have real estate. We have an office and the sheriff has the keys.
Okay, so we could put one system in there for viewing, could we not?
Yes, that would make sense.
Yeah, okay. Cool, awesome. I'm very excited that we're moving forward with this, and phases is fantastic. If we had the 3 entrances, perhaps to start out, and maybe one at the ballpark. But yeah, I think that's a fabulous idea. And getting an RFP from somebody like the city of King City who or any city, easier to copycat theirs than to reinvent wheels.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. And using surveillance grid or grid surveillance, I'm not sure which way they go. if we had one at the water tank and Hollister PD, or I'm not sure where their cutoff line is, but if we could coordinate 156 comings and goings in and out of either city, using the same company, potentially, could be a really good bang for both our bucks. I don't know.
Okay.
Having consistent communication. Cool. Thanks for keeping this moving forward. Have travel ideas yet to be a school superintendent as a guest speaker and 911 netcom.
Yes, they're still on the list.
Do we want to have? So, do we want to try and get those folks in for the next meeting?
Yeah, it was difficult over the holidays
Or
to reach out.
do we have
to
any
the-
ideas to throw around for the next? Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hang on, let me go back to who's who. Rachel, do you have any other suggestions on next agenda or future agenda items on who you would like to see come in, who we would like to chat with?
I think that having the school district superintendent and a board member come in to talk with us, I think that would be good, since we're talking about providing something for the kids. That would be good.
Right, okay. David, anybody?
Yeah, I'm with Rachel on that one. That'd be great. Might want to put some focus on the park that's there, as far as the open space goes too, when it comes to safety. And the other thing that I can think of, I know last month we were talking about animal control.
Right, that's
Uh,
right.
Whether we had,
Yep.
a dog park or anything like that, we were talking about that too as well. I suggest look into killing two birds with one stone would be another park that's close to San Juan Bautista, and that's known as Spring Spot. I just thought I'd throw that name out there because it does exist, but it's buried in the San Juan Creek, just at the base of San Juan Canyon. It used to be a park out there where kids used to go fishing and stuff. That might be a good area for a dog park too as well.
Oh, awesome.
Just thought I'd bring that up. There is existing, which is some ruins that still exist out there, which sandstone walls and what have you, barbecue pits. It used to be a pool out there for swimming.
Oh,
So
my.
that might be a good place to look for another park. It's right across from the entrance to the people who live up by the cross. There's an entrance there. The park would be right at the base of the San Juan Canyon there on the San Juan Creek. It used to be part of the Ideal Cement plant property, and I think it's privately owned now. And I think it's being leased or rented by the Adams family, which lives across the street. But anyway, that might be a good area to explore because we are a town of history, and that might be something that historically is valuable to us, and maybe a great place for a park.
Wow,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Thank you. Yolanda?
I agree with David, and thanks, Don, for all your help and your openness to hear our opinions and putting up with me. I talked to Don about this, and he was open to it. He said he'd think about it, but we have our code enforcement out at 7:00 at night. We have rural areas. Maybe putting GPSs on in our code enforcement and employees for their safety. That's just something I want to mention, but I don't have any one that I want to see. But otherwise, the camera people. Just food for thought.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Not,
I mean,
not having backup. Yeah, thank you.
all right, thank you.
Awesome. Scott, before you go, anything for another meeting?
No, I like the idea of meeting with the school. I think it's a good idea. And then that could eventually fold into the active shooter program that's coming into the county. I have been trained in active shooter. I've done numerous training in Gilroy and Morgan Hill. And it is a program it is for police and fire. So, but the shelter in place type stuff, things like that, it would be good to be able to get the school and fold on that. And animal control, I know that's the city of Hollister, and they've always been a stumbling block as far as getting animal control in the county-wide, county and over here. But it would be nice, maybe we can contract, but I need to go. So
Okay.
thank you.
See you, Scott. Thank you. Don, would that fall under Chief Reynoso? Or does
It
somebody
starts
else?
with Chief, it starts with Chief Reynoso. We needed to house an animal due to animal cruelty, a bad case of a dog and animal cruelty. And he was able to call the shelter and open a door for us. So I know if I need to, I can go through Chief Reynoso. I just need to make the call. So I
Okay.
need to follow up. And
So
I'm
maybe we
almost-
can bring the chief in one day to talk about animal control with somebody from animal control and how we can mutually benefit.
Right, I think he's recently assigned a new person to be in charge of that, a lieutenant or a captain, I'm not sure. So
Okay.
now that that person's got 6 months under their belt, it would be a smarter conversation to have.
Okay, perfect. And maybe bring and maybe talk about cameras with Chief Reynoso as well. Sorry.
Oh, that's an interesting idea, okay.
And along with cameras, the Lieutenant Corral talked about, I think it was Lieutenant Corral. It could have been Chief Bob. Grants, California Consulting to look at state and federal grants for that. And I fully understand that we don't have a whole lot of personnel to administer these grants, but if we could get some cash in, maybe we can just disperse it all at once and not have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, just launder it, yeah.
I did not say that.
Do not say that, okay. Strike that from the minutes, Veronica.
Yeah, scratch that. Cool, awesome. Thank you very much. So if we can get, it sounds like the school would be a
Yeah.
good start too. We have not had code enforcement come in yet either, so that could be another meeting further down the road. Like we had the sheriff's department in, like we had the fire department in, like we had level 1 in, and discussing their job duties. So let's start with the school superintendent and
Hollister PD and then code.
yeah,
Hollister PD and then code, okay, got it.
Sure.
Got it.
yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. Next meeting, February 28th, 2022.
Mayor, I just have a request. I'm finding that the fourth Monday is much better for me due to timing of the council meeting. I found myself getting ready
yeah,
for
sure.
council. So I snuck in February 28th there, hoping the committee would be okay meeting the fourth Monday rather than the third.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with me. I have to get ready for a council meeting on the third Tuesday, so.
Yeah, so we've got enough reading to do. Okay, I hope that's okay. Let me know.
Yeah, is that okay with everybody else? The 4th?
Yeah, that's okay with
Thank
me.
you, David.
Thanks,
Thank
Yolanda.
you, Yolanda. Rachel, are you good with that?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all very much. We appreciate that. Okay, fourth Tuesday of the month, next meeting, February 28th, 4 p.m. Anything else for the good of the cause? I'm gonna hit a dead zone unless I can get up to 80 miles an hour. Is the sheriff still on?
No. But Veronica, don't put that in the minute.
Did I lose everybody? Thank you all very much. Have a great night if you can hear me.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
5:42. Thank you,
Thank
thank you,
you.
everybody. Thank you, Yolanda,
Thanks,
David.
Todd.
Bye.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, good
Thank
job.
you.
Veronica.
Goodbye.
All right,
Yes, Rachel, thank you. You did a great job.
okay.
Thank
good night.
you.